Welcome to Death Holler. Do you like scary movies? Welcome to Season 3, Slash or Pass. There will be laughter, tears, tender moments,
Jason, my special boy.
but most of all, screams. Remember, when you're in Death Holler, listener discretion is always advised. We hope you have a killer time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Death Holler. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. Death, and I received my PhD in horrorology at the prestigious West Carpenter University.
Stupid.
Joining me, as always, is the spectral Latina who earns top honors for her kills, La Urena. How are your classes in slashing going so far?
I think I'm getting better, and I think I'm going to graduate this year. Finally. This is it. This is the year.
This is the year you finally make it.
Yes.
This episode, we are covering the school day slashers, or at least some of them. If you pull up a list of slashers that takes place in or around a high school or a university, you would find that there are dozens that fit in that category, including Scream, as we've already discussed.
Oh,
We focused on a few this episode that specifically took place around school functions, but unfortunately we only have so much time. So some of the other ones like Final Exam, Sorority House Massacre, I don't know, there's like a million of them. There's a bunch we're not going to be covering. So grab that old high school yearbook, put on your old Letterman's jacket, and join us for our reviews of Prom Night and Graduation Day.
We're going back to the glory days. Quotation marks.
Yeah. If you're enjoying the podcast, we'd appreciate it if you could take the time to like, comment, and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you prefer. It helps us get more visibility on podcast listings and helps us grow. Also, consider following us on social media. You can find us on TikTok and Twitter under Death Holler Pod, and we can be found on Instagram and Facebook under Death Holler Podcast. We appreciate everyone who listens and hope you enjoy the show. But first, let's attack some bees.
What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Open my eyes!
I'm actually not screaming "not my eyes" this episode. It's kind of a surprising twist whenever the bees are actually better than some of the movies we're covering. Spoiler alert. But anyways, you had one that you were going to bring up for this episode, correct? Or
No, I'm not going to. I didn't watch it. Even though I watched it, but I didn't watch it. So I need to give it my full attention. I failed that class.
It was the new Winnie Pooh Blood and Honey, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a B movie. That's the only spoiler I'm going to give right now. Well, I'll give one spoiler. Someone gets attacked by some bees.
Really? Literally
gets attacked by some bees. And I was like, holy shit, this will be an amazing, Attack of the Bees. It's one of those comfort. You know how you get a comfort horror film that you can watch? Well, I mean, there's a lot now. You could just go to bed watching now. But this is definitely a comfort one.
So, I mean, it is a slasher, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like they're masked killers or something? Okay.
It's a slasher. I'm going to have to cover it. I need to cover it maybe next episode or something.
Yeah, I might try to hunt it down, and we might be able to both weigh in on it, because I'm interested, but I've not really spent much time trying to find it anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, I've got a couple I'm going to cover on this episode just because they kind of fit the theme, and it's worth looking at. First one is Girls Night Out. That's NITE out. There's actually like a newer film that's got it spelled correctly, and it's a totally different movie, folks. Anyways, this was also known as The Scaremaker from 1982. Tagline: His grave is empty, his corpse is cold. Not terrible, considering some of the ones we've had.
Yeah, that's true.
Directed by Robert Duvall, written by Gil Spencer Jr., and then Kevin Kurgis and Joe Bolster, who did the screenplay and story. And then we have Anthony Ingurvis, who did the screenplay. Music is by a bunch of people: The Lovin' Spoonful, 1910 Fruit Gum Company, and Tommy James and the Shondells.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. This has a lot of pop music in it. It's actually one of the highlights of the movie, except that they reuse some of the same songs multiple times. Those budgets only go so far, folks. Principal players, we have Julia Montgomery playing Lynn Connors, who's a final girl in quotation marks, and also too nice of a girlfriend. We'll get into that in a minute. Most people remember Julia Montgomery as being the hot blonde cheerleader from Revenge of the Nerds that the main character hooks up with in the Darth Vader mask later on in the movie.
Oh, my God.
You remember that? Have you ever watched those movies?
No, I wasn't into those movies. But
Yeah.
every guy I know from the 80s, you, my husband, probably Donnie G, loved those kinds of movies. And I'm not surprised why. There's an ample amount of titties. Sometimes there's ass. Very gorgeous women.
You're one of your favorite peoples in that movie. The what is it, Metatron? The guy that plays Booger is in that movie or whatever. From Supernatural, he played Metatron there for a bit.
I didn't like him. Are you being sarcastic right now?
I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, I was about to say I hated him.
He is a hilarious character actor, though.
Yeah, he is.
We have, but it was filmed right around the same. This movie was filmed right around the same time. She's actually if you were to watch this movie, you couldn't tell the difference. It's like she's playing the same damn character, just in a different setting. So
yeah,
even goes after the same kind of guys. I mean, not nerdy, but in the sense that she likes the jocks. That's how she starts out the Revenge of the Nerds movie. We have Rutanya Alda playing Richard Dickey Kavanaugh and Katie Barney Kavanaugh. So there's your spoiler, folks. She's both she's a set of twins in this movie, and she is the killer, but she's also somebody else in the movie. That every one of these movies like tries to play it off like the killers. Like they give you like 2 or 3 different red herrings at least, and it's like, who's going to be? And you're like, it's that person that you introduced for no reason, and then they come back.
Yeah, the weirdo.
Yeah. Barney is basically like the local restaurant, like burger joint that the kids all go to after their games and stuff. She's the waitress there that's like taking the orders, but that's how that's why she's kind of doing what she's doing. And I'll get into that a little bit, but like she's around these college kids all the time, and her brother was institutionalized so many years before. I don't know if it really gives a time frame, and because he found his girlfriend cheating on him during their like scavenger hunt that they used to do like annually, and basically he went insane, killed her. They locked him up, and in the beginning of the movie starts with him hanging himself, and so the rest of the movie everybody thinks that he's back out doing the crime, but it's actually his twin sister that's killing for him.
Okay, I mean, we kind of have that in another film we watched a little.
Yes, that's what I thought, and I was like, man, these movies kind of stole from each other.
Yeah, they borrowed. It was inspo. Remember, we talked about it, inspo.
But this one is a mascot killer. There is the school mascot is kind of a bear, like a weird like Five Nights at Freddy's looking style bear.
Ooh.
And I'll give them credit for this. They did an interesting job with the kills, because I mean it looks janky as shit, but they've got when she goes to kill people, she gets like this wooden block, tapes like 4 different like steak knives that you would like cut your steak at home to the knife to make like claws that she pushes in and out of the bear suit when she's killing people. So
Okay.
She was in a few other movies: Night of the Wolf, Amityville 2, The Possession, Mommy Dearest, Christmas Evil, and When a Stranger Calls. So she's been quite
She's
a
been
few
in some
horror
good
movies.
ones. Oh my God, this bear is holy shit. It's literally like, it's almost like a bear, like a furry costume, but they literally made his eyes out of paper.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like put a felt tongue, glued a felt tongue on it, and then glued a gray grandma wig in the center of its head. Holy shit! I thought this was janky. I mean, wait, when you said janky, but I didn't realize it was this janky.
Yeah. It's interesting. If it's a different design than some of the ones we've had in some of these movies.
You know, do you have to get fancy when you're murdering? Look at Jason. He had a fucking hockey mask on. Come on, guys. We don't have to
and basically clothes that you would find Dean Winchester wearing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Supernatural.
Showing off them cakes.
We have Hal Holbrook playing Jim McVeigh, the head security guard and the Doom Prophet in the movie, literally phoning his performance in. I don't know if I've got any trivia on this movie, but that's what he did. I mean, they only had him for like 2 days because of scheduling conflicts. So anytime you've seen him interacting in the movie, it's off in a distance, and other people are like, you know, it cuts to another person interacting back with him. That's because he filmed none of his scenes with anybody in the movie.
Oh my God.
Whatsoever.
That's hella funny.
And most of the movie's him on the phone interacting with a killer as they're calling him and like taunting him about all the stuff. So he was previously in The Fog. He was the preacher at the end of the movie that gets his decapitated. And he was also in Creepshow, which we've not covered, but we will in a future season. James Carroll plays Teddy Ratliff, the horn dog and basketball captain. He's actually the boyfriend to the quote unquote final girl. And he spends the entire movie trying to fuck anybody but her. Well, I mean, he does fuck her, but like he spends the rest of his time specifically going after one of the other women in the movie. And like and she's just, and that's why I say she's too nice, because every one of her friends is like, you know, he's like probably fucking around on you. She's like, oh no, I know he's kind of a handful, but and it's like,
but
no,
he's mine.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I feel like everybody in high school knew at least one jock or alleged good-looking guy that was like that, and they always had the fucking nicest girlfriend. And the friends that were telling her, hey, he's probably cheating on you, they were jealous because they knew that they were also, quotation mark, getting cheated on because they were fucking him too.
Yeah.
Bunch of hoes.
I mean, and that's basically how it is in this movie. Like every one of the girls is like, that's telling her, I mean, they kind of give like sidelong glances at each other. It's like, yeah, we've had a piece of him too.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
He was a hoe, for show.
Here's what kind of boyfriend he is. He Dutch Ovens the main or final girl at one point in the movie. Like they've just had sex after he's spent most of the night hitting on another woman at a sorority party. And after they're done, he, lets one rip and then holds the covers over her head. So,
well, you know what? It's very disrespectful when a man does that to a woman. But when a woman does that to a man, you fucking wife her up. That is love.
Well, he did it to her, so I mean, it's, you know, he's not too good of a guy. We have Mart McChesney playing Pete Maniac Krasanik, and of course, Maniac being his name, he's one of the red herrings. Dun dun dun.
Oh, Krasaniak is his last name.
Yeah, Krasaniak's his last name. Maniac Krasaniak.
Oh my God. That's retarded.
Yeah, Crazy Maniac. I mean, basically is his last name, just shortened down. He's another basketball star. Him and Teddy are best friends, and he's got woman problems. Like the movie starts up, and like he's bemoaning the fact that he can't keep a woman, and like, you know, and then Teddy mentions to him it's fine, and then he, you know, basically looks at Teddy and says, well, you've got, you know, you've got Lynn. She's, you know, with you through thick and thin. I have nobody. And so it sets it up that, like, you know, because the killer is going after these women who, you know, seem, you know, overly promiscuous and all that stuff. That's kind of the gist of the movie, is that they're killing cheating women or cheaters in general, that, you know, it could be him because, you know, he's had such women problems. But It's a lame red herring. We have David Holbrook, son of Hal, playing Mike Pryor, the basketball player with a girlfriend problem as well. And
Holy
his problem
shit.
is that his girlfriend's actively cheating on him with the actual school mascot. And he knows it. And he calls every woman a whore. And so he's the most likely red herring in the movie.
Yeah, everyone ignores the school mascot until they get a piece of the school mascot. And they're like, okay, you didn't make the team, but you made the cut.
We have Matthew Dunn playing Michael Benson, the actual school mascot who's screwing Mike's girlfriend, as
Holy
I've said.
shit. What is it? Okay, wait, yeah, this is the mascot.
Here's the thing. Mike's girlfriend is actually, they mentioned in the movie, Matthew's or Michael's second cousin. So, and she mentions that she likes him better because he's got a thicker ride, if you want to, read into that. So she's fucking her cousin just, right in front of basically Mike or whatever. And like everybody keeps that. And like her girlfriends are asking her like at certain points in the movie, are you ever going to tell Mike? It's like, we'll solve it. We'll resolve the issue. And she's literally like, doing everything but fucking this other guy right in front of him at a party. So,
oh my God.
We have Laura Summer playing Jane, who's the pot smoking scavenger hunt enthusiast. Carrot Glenn playing Kathy, who's Jane's friend, who ends up the wrong place the wrong time, as they always do. She goes back looking for Jane, and the killer's still around, so she gets taken out too. We have Lauren Marie Taylor playing Sheila Robinson, the scavenger hunt participant. Lois Robbins playing Leslie Peterson, Lynn's friend. And then Suzanne Barnes playing Dawn Sorensen, who is the hot girl that Teddy keeps hitting on and eventually hooks up with, even though she's got a boyfriend of her own. And, of course, things don't work out for either one of them because that's exactly the MO for the killer.
Everyone's fucking everyone but the person they're with in this.
Basically. Well, Lynn is faithful, but that's pretty much it. So
yeah, one person.
Synopsis. DeWitt University, or DeWitt, or whatever, is having a scavenger hunt for the ladies to celebrate the men's basketball team winning the championship. The last time the school held a scavenger hunt, one of the students went insane with jealousy and killed his girlfriend, which is the head of campus security's daughter. So Hal Holbrook's daughter was the one that was murdered by the original killer. It just so happens that a copycat killer has surfaced and is killing the campus's unfaithful couples. The school mascot uses a block of steak knives to simulate bear claws. Random hookups with side pieces are happening aplenty, and the killer is found out by arts and crafts. And what I mean by that is literally Hal Holbrook's character sitting there in one of his mini scenes, or where he's just literally in an office by himself, and he happens to have a picture of the original killer, Dickie, and he starts thinking for a split second, and he uses a pen that he's got to draw hair on top of Dickie.
Oh my God!
It's just like the Barney, the one that ends up being the killer. Hope you enjoy the Lovin' Spoonful, folks, because you're getting a plenty of it. So. Body count's a respectable 10 in this movie, though.
Wow. Okay.
Dickie hangs himself at the beginning of the movie. We have two gravediggers who are actually interns or I guess like resident nurses or something like that at the asylum. They're paid by Barney to bury her brother, but then she turns around and stabs him to death with a shovel. So,
wait a second. I missed that. Why is her nickname Barney?
That's what name that she doesn't go by. Nobody knows that she's like the twin sister to Dickie.
Mm-hmm.
Like she is completely removed it. So she just whenever they go to the local, greasy spoon, basically it's specifically Teddy, because like he's always the one ordering like 15 hamburgers. He's like Jughead in this movie.
Yeah.
She goes by Barney to everybody there, like, oh, that's waitress Barney,
Okay.
Don't know. That's just the name she picked.
Okay.
Michael Benson is stabbed in the chest by Barney. We have Jane, who has her neck mutilated by Barney with a multi-knife paw. Basically just kind of grabs the actress, and then like the next thing you see is there's blood. I mean, that's their way of cheapening out, not having to get too many gore scenes in this movie. We have Kathy, who's killed by Barney. Sheila, who has her neck mutilated by Barney with a multi-knife paw. Again, they go back to that same thing. And a lot of people are killed off scene or screen, too. Leslie's killed by Barney. Dawn is slashed by Barney with a multi-knife paw. And then Teddy is stabbed in the back by Barney right before Hal Holbrook confronts her. And that's the thing that is most disappointing about this movie, because I will give them credit. They have good characterizations for all of the main actors in this movie, and the music's actually decent for, you know, these type of slashers. But when it gets to the end, it's like they totally forgot to write an ending, because you have Hal Holbrook standing over these two dead kids or whatever, you know, and then the Barney's there, and basically he's, you know, confronting her, and then she, you know, gives him a look like that, you know, she's never going, that she's totally insane, and then it cuts away to her brother that she's been keeping in a freezer somewhere, I guess in the Greasy Spoon, and that's how the movie ends. There's no resolution to any of it.
Grody.
So I'm going to give this a Nick Cage rating of The Wicker Man. It's not a great film, but there are enjoyable or enjoyably bad moments in it. And there's another thing, I'm going to give ratings on some of the main movies that we're covering about, like, I call it the Steve Buscemi Hello Fellow Kids rating, like how well they actually look like, you know, whatever age they're supposed to be. Where they set this in college, the characters don't look that out of place. So I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about some high schoolers here in a minute.
that look like they're 30 or 40 years old.
Yeah, and definitely air bunnies, quotation marks, for those high school students, because look, and you don't realize it when you're younger. You think, oh, this is what a high schooler is supposed to look like. No, they're still fucking kids. They're not supposed to look like women.
Yeah, and like, I'm going to give credit to Scream. I mean, I know those actors and actresses, like, you know, maybe were older than, but a lot of them were baby faced enough that they.
Oh yeah, no, they could
100%.
get away with it. Height, and everything had nothing to do with it. They definitely, yeah, they had, even what's her name? Oh God, Rose McGowan. She had like a little bit of baby fat still on her.
Yes, she still had the baby fat, so it looked natural. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you can tell these are older women and men in this movie, but they look like late 20s, which still is appropriate enough to fit in with a college setting. So
absolutely.
I'll give them credit. The next movie I'm going to cover for an Attack of the Bees, which is the first time we've done a two-parter on this, is Hell High, aka Raging Fury, from 1989. So we're running the gamut here on the decade. We've got one from the beginning and one from the end.
Oh, this is the one you told me to watch, huh?
Yeah.
The one you told me to watch and I didn't listen.
This one's fun. This one's actually really fun. Tagline from this is, where the students are dying to graduate.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That is pretty good. Directed by Douglas Grossman, written by Leo Evans and Douglas Grossman, music by Chris Hyams, Hart, and Rich McCarr. We have principal players is Christopher Cousins, who plays John, a former football star who quit the team for unexplained reasons, and they never give those reasons. They just continuously say he was a coward, and then he quit the team, and you really don't need a reason. That's the setting.
I know the reason. He was gay and he wanted to have butt sex with every person on the team, and they were constantly turning him away. And because he respected their boundaries, he removed himself from the situation.
No, they play him as a pretty much a horn dog. So, like, I mean,
yeah, for the guys.
It's for women. It's for women, and I'll get into that here in a minute. But I mean, he's actually, there's some respectable things about John, even though he's kind of an outcast. He's the best of the group, and I'll get into that in a minute. He was actually in episodes of Breaking Bad. He was in The Grudge 2, and he's been in tons of TV since then. Christopher Cousins has.
Okay.
We have Maureen Mooney, and also he's kind of the final girl, and I'll get into that. This movie doesn't just like the last one, where there's not really a final girl. Lynn never actually stands up to the killer. And this one, he doesn't really, I mean, he's more like a final girl than Lynn ever was in Girls Night Out, and I'll get into the ending a little bit on that later. But like, this is kind of breaks conventions, because it was late in the 80s, the slasher craze was very much dying out. That's the reason this got no play anywhere. People were kind of tired of it at that point, and like they were trying new things with this movie.
Okay.
Maureen Mooney plays Miss Brooke Storm, who's actually the slasher in the movie. She's a teacher with extreme PTSD that gets triggered throughout in the movie. Christopher Stryker plays Dickens, who's the instigator of everything that happens in the movie, an outright rapist, and he's the head of the outcast that John gets mixed up with. But the actor, strangely and sadly, that played Dickens died right after this film wrapped.
Oh shit!
This movie actually came out after he had died. Like, it was filmed in like 87. And it didn't actually come out till or it didn't come out to 89, and he died like a few months after the movie was over. That's
crazy.
Millie Prezziso plays Queenie, who is she is the quintessential 80s chick. Like, if you remember any of the outfits from that time where they had just like random black like ribbons holding their hair up and like just this, odd clothing from the 80s, like she stands in for that. She's one of the outcasts, the only female in the group, and she's a hoe, like straight
faux show.
Faux show. Like she, the first thing she does is when she meets John is let him know that like she doesn't care about who she fucks, and then like she has him over to her house at one point to pick her up, and she's like, "Wait a minute, I need to look away. I need to change my top to something else." And he does the proper thing, looks away because she says, and when he looks back, she's just got her tits flopped out for him. So
gotcha, bitch.
And that's one thing I'll give this movie. It shows 3 different pairs of breasts. Like, it knows what it's doing. Like,
God.
Catherine Rosetter plays Coach Sandy Hand, which is hilarious when you look at that name, Sandy Hand.
Sandy Hand?
Because she's a friend of Maureen, and it's very much hinted that she's a lesbian. So Sandy Hand and a lesbian. J.R. Holm plays Coach Heaton, who's just a mean little man. And it's funny because I think I don't remember where this is set at exactly, but of course the coach has to have a Southern accent because, coaches do apparently. And we have Webster Winery playing the teen boy. Oh, wait, I forgot one more. We have Jason Brill playing Smiler, who's just a big old boy, an idiot, and the final outcast. So there's 4 in the group. Webster Winery plays a teen boy that just wanted to get some action in a shack in the swamp. And then Karen Russell plays a teen girl who cock-blocked her boyfriend and then died. So that's what she got, I guess.
Okay. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, so synopsis. Years after a young girl caused an accident that sent 2 local teens flying to their deaths, Brooke Storm is all grown up and one of the science teachers at a local school. So she was the little girl that killed these 2 teens. Chronic anxiety and PTSD plague Miss Storm, and a group of 4 troublesome teenagers are exacerbating her condition. Determined to get revenge on Miss Storm for being a raging bitch, the teenagers attempt to scare the teacher and set off a series of killings that will forever change the small town. Cock-blocked teens get impaled on metal spikes, brains get unconvincingly mashed in, and trauma is a vicious cycle that begins anew. The teachers are tough, but their exams are murder.
Shut up.
That's another one of the taglines.
That's a good one either. That's not bad. No, I'm not upset at all.
So basically, just this movie is that, and by the way, Girls Night Out featured Ludacris in it. I didn't mention that, but apparently it was the very first appearance of Ludacris in a movie, period, or at least according to some website I was on, and like there's an image of him in the crowd.
1982?
Yeah. That's what they said. It could be some guy who looks like Ludacris, but I swear to God, it looks like a young Ludacris. So I don't know.
Okay, hold on. I am looking this up right now.
You can't find him anywhere else except on that one webpage. So I'm just saying that that's what was mentioned.
That's hella funny. Oh, it says so. Oh my God. Okay, go ahead.
in this movie, so basically it starts out and it shows this little girl who's playing out in the swamp, and like she's got this shack that she goes to. Her mom tells her not to go out there. She goes out to play with her dolls. She hears some people come up, so she does a smart thing and she kind of sneaks out the back or whatever. It's like this kind of a greaser type guy, you know, on a motorcycle with his girlfriend. Apparently uses that shack to fuck in. His girlfriend thinks it's creepy, which it is. She refuses, and she kind of senses that they're being watched because the little girl's watching her, and that's the first pair of tits you see is because hers is flopped out. She tells him they need to leave. They get on the motorcycle. They go to leave. The little girl comes out, and she's pissed at because in the middle of that, he grabbed one of her dolls and like ripped the head off and like, threw it against the wall. So she gets a little pail that she's got and fills it full of mud, and it's like he's driving back through. She like flings it into his face. Well, that causes him to go off the road. And for some reason, in like this field next right to the road, they've got like these metal spikes. I don't even know what they're for, honestly. And they both land on them and they're dead. And she just runs off and like, you know, so that she doesn't acknowledge that she's there. Skip ahead. She's a science teacher. She's got a lot of anxiety issues, you can tell. She's teaching these hoodlums, like, you know, basically you got like the all the outcasts, and John's like kind of new in her class too. And she basically has Dickens, like she calls him out on something and tells him that he needs to like bring all the papers up and then like so she can grade. He throws him on the floor. She yells at him and all that, and then he gets pissed, and that's kind of where he sets in that he's going to get back at her for just being a bitch.
Yeah.
Him and John go to her house, and that's the second pair of breasts you see in the movie, because there's a big long scene of her like almost pleasing herself in the shower because, you know, I guess she's got to relieve tension somehow, and she's not got a bad body, which both John and Dickens note and like make a comment on. And but later in the movie, after they've all got back together, like Dickens keeps bringing up, we need to go to the swamp, and like Smiler says, no, we don't need to do this, but he convinces them anyways because that's what he does. And they go there and they collect a bunch of just like pond scum. It's what it basically amounts to, because they're going to fling it at her house and then kind of try to scare her on top of it. But when they do, it just so happens that, you know, she in her mind thinks that the dead, or like somehow the ghost of the two teens are come back from the swamp to, you know, to come after her. So like she freaks out. They end up, they think they kill her at one point because they, you know, she's like completely, she flings, or they corner her at one point. She flings herself out of a window, and then like she lays there dead. And so there's like a whole big long scene where they, and this is after I forgot this. There's like point in the movie where she's drugged because like she's freaked out. They've kind of hid for a second. The coach Sandy or whatever's over to visit her, gives her like some Xanax or something like that to calm her down, and then like says that she'll check back in on her and like leaves. And then while she's kind of drugged, that's when Dickens comes in there and tries to fucking, you know, rape her basically at that point. And that's when the other chick, Queenie, comes in there, and for some reason she calls him out of it and says that he shouldn't, you know, that's clearly crossing the line. But then whenever he challenges her, then she's like, well, I'll show you how to do this right. And so she does like almost the female version, like groping and stuff like that. And she's like, this is how you really do it. And of course, which makes Dickens just that much worse because it turns him on seeing the two of them together. And the teacher comes to her senses, sees that she, you know, knows that she's, you know, about to be raped or whatever. So she leaps out the second story window, falls below, and then they think she's dead. Like they check her, like she's not moving. So they send John off to get like the gear of like the head of the football team to basically frame him for the thing so they can get by with it.
Yeah.
Well, she comes to while John's gone. Brains Queenie with rock that she's got. John finds Queenie, and it's badly done. The kind of the way that she does it. I mean, you can tell she's not really hitting Queenie. It's just like she's pressing down on her head with it or something. But whatever. John comes back, sees Queenie dead. gets hit from the side by Miss Brooks or whatever. He gets knocked down a hill and but he's just knocked out. He's not really hurt. And then she ends up stabbing a pencil that's in the body count here. She ends up stabbing a pencil through Smiler's head, through his temple. And then Dickens, she ends up stabbing in the chest with a butcher knife and then ties him up. That's whenever we have John comes back and he comes in there and sees that. He unties Dickens, and then Dickens happens to or the two of them are him and Miss Storm kind of tussle. She's got a fire poker that she has at the time, and she gets knocked over the couch. Dickens runs after her because he's going to finish her off, even though John tells him to leave her alone. And basically he cuts her throat at the same time he gets impaled on the fire poker, and then it just leaves John. He's the only one left. He does lay that football player's gear on top of all that, so he's scot-free. The end of the movie shows that football player getting arrested while John is in class. And then the last thing you see in the movie is one of the teachers comes up and asks him because he's clearly out of it. And he's just freaking out because he just sees her turn into Miss Brooks, kind of showing that he's traumatized now. And then the movie ends with him screaming, and that's how the movie ends.
Oh my God.
And the interesting thing about this movie is the kills all take place in the last 20 minutes, if that. They're quick. It's over with and brutal. There's no stalking like there is in all the other slasher movies. It's kind of like in real life, when bad shit happens, it happens quick. And you're just, so they kind of went that route with it.
Much like a movie we're going to review today.
Yeah, it's pretty similar in that sense too. That's what I thought was interesting about it. I was this is pretty close to another movie that we're reviewing in the sense that all the kills are back ended. They're all right at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But this movie, there's no red herrings. It's and you have a little bit of empathy for Miss Storm because, if the kids had left her alone, she wouldn't have freaked out. But then, and especially if she hadn't been almost raped by one of them. So, it's hard to hate her as the killer, even, because she had a reason for what she did. So.
Yeah.
But there are 6 people who die in this movie. Like I said, the teen boy and girl off the motorcycle, Queenie with her head bashed in, Smiler with a pencil through his temple, Dickens stabbed in the chest with a butcher knife and then impaled, and then Miss Storm has her throat cut. I would give this Nick Cage rating Willy's Wonderland. I've gave that before, but I'm giving this for a different reason. I love the movie, but the ending is just a bit too abrupt, and it's a little unsatisfying because it's they really do a good, these are the most convincing high school students of all the movies that we covered or we'll cover tonight. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
They did a good, the dialogue is natural. They even had Joe Bob Briggs right before the movie that I watched, kind of introduced it. And that's one of the things he mentions. It's got some of the best, authentic high schooler, dialogue to make the characters seem the age they're supposed to be. And they look in the realm of what they're supposed to be. Dickens might seem a little older, but he also seems like the kind of person who would have failed, behind several times. So that kind of fits. And I liked everything that it was doing. Even their mask, when they go to scare her, they put on these Halloween masks, and they're very well done. They're they would make good slashers in their own rights if they use those masks for other purposes. The only thing I didn't like was just that once the action hits, it's quick. In retrospect, it's actually a good thing because it's more realistic that way. It's when you're used to these slashers taking their time and then everything happens the way it did in this one, it's just the ending comes a little too quickly. So, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah.
There's a music scene whenever the team is trying to win some kind of football game, and then the gang of outsiders rolls in in a car or whatever and kind of rolls through the field in the middle of it and kind of disturbs everything to the cheers of the crowd. It's got a lot of things in it that I thought were fun. So
yeah,
it was one of the most fun watches of the whole movies we're doing, which is kind of a spoiler, but that's kind of how it was.
It is what it is.
But anyways, are you ready to roll on to the main movies?
I'm ready to roll.
All righty. Movie discussion number 1, Prom Night from 1980. Tagline: as children, they will play the killer's game. Now it's the killer's turn to play with them.
That's not bad.
This one, it's not bad. It's got some really long. This is one I'm remembering. This has some really long taglines, though, that I'll include here in a little bit. Directed by Paul Lynch, written by William Gray and Robert Guza Jr., music by Paul Zaza and Carl Zittra. Budget of $1.5 million. It made $14.8.
I mean, not terrible.
No, and I think that's the reason this movie ended up getting sequels, is because it made pretty decent.
Oh my God,
returns.
this movie got sequels?
Yes. And the sequels are interesting because they have nothing to do with this first movie. Like the second one, I told you I'd try to watch it, but I never got around to the time to rewatch it again. But like I did watch part of it this morning before we got on here and it's just, it's so bad. It's good type movie. The second one is, because it starts out and there's this one chick in 1957 who, the very first thing you see of her is she's, and it's called Prom Night 2, Hello, Mary Lou, and her name's Mary Lou Malone. But like she's going into a confessional booth and she tells the priest that she's been with a lot of boys, a lot. She emphasizes, and she's done a lot of things with them. And he's like, "Oh my God, that's a terrible sin." And she's like, "And you know what the worst of it is, Father? I don't regret any of it." And that's how like the very first scene, like kind of kicks off, and then it goes. And this is in 1957, mind you. It goes to the prom, and she's there with a guy who he looks like he's 40 years old. Like, I mean, he's got balding all the way up his head, and he's like a total like straight-laced, like, nerd type, and you can tell that that's not the type she would be with. And she tells him go get some punch and she'll be right back, and he says I'll be right back. She's like, okay, I'll be waiting for you. And she's not. She sees like another guy at the party that's drunk and she wants to get freaky with, so she sneaks backstage with him. And she's telling him right as her boyfriend like sees her doing this, that she's only with the other guy because his dad's rich and he treats her good, but she's with him because he's got the biggest piece of meat of their class. And so she's sitting there basically riding him, and she tells him this stuff. The boyfriend gets pissed. They kind of leave. He goes in the bathroom. Some practical jokers leave like the smoke bomb there. He picks it up. He crawls on top of stage, and kind of like a reverse Carrie moment, he sets fire to that, drops her jilted boyfriend, drops it down. It happens to catch her firearm dress or her dress on fire, and like she dies right in front of everybody, like she's burned alive. Skips ahead so many years. It's the 80s, clearly. And this one chick is like the main character, the final girl. And she's like the, straight laced as you can get, like Christian girl. Her mom's overly Christian, so that's kind of a thing. And she's wanting to get like a better prom dress for her boyfriend. And she happens to, like, for some reason decides to go down to the prop department because they're also like, she's working on prom and they're theming it after 1957, which is weird because your school had somebody die literally that year. Why would you think? But whatever. And she's downstairs in this trunk where that dress has been kept for all these years for whatever, God knows what reason. And by the way, the jilted boyfriend's now the principal, and his hair's even farther up his head. So there's that. But she's down there, and of course, like, the trunk opens up on its own, and it's the vengeful spirit of Mary Lou, and the rest of the movie is that, like, she starts possessing the main character and like having her, and she becomes way more sexual. She starts killing people without even realizing it. Well, actually, I think some of the people die like mystically, like they're like one of the characters is like the quintessential 80s chick that looks almost like Queenie, and like she starts getting bad vibes in the school, and like and because she's got a psychic like link or whatever to the supernatural, the Mary Lou's spirit in particular like targets her and like pushes her out of a window, and like the rest of the movie's like that, like she's they're getting killed left and right.
Question. So the dress was still intact even though she caught on fire?
Yeah, miraculously. It was like, and it's not, and I don't even know if it's charred in the movie. That's the thing. It's like, it's somehow, I don't know if it's due to Mary Lou's like evil spirit or whatever, but it's reformed itself. So,
okay. All right. It's like
There's
Christine,
no
but a
logic.
dress.
Yeah, that's the thing with Prom Night 2. There's no logic to any of it, but you're watching it and like they went for it. Like the acting is over the top. It's like the kills are over the top. It's a fun bad watch. So
Good God.
if you ever get a chance, that one's worth looking at. But we're talking about Prom Night in 1980, which is a totally different movie.
Is it Prom Night? Because I think for some reason, I downloaded the wrong movie and I felt like I was watching Saturday Night Fever.
Yes, you were. That's the thing about Prom Night. Made in 1980, but you can tell that, it was released in 1980, but you can tell it's made in 79.
Oh, yeah.
Because, good God, the disco in this movie, like, is blatant.
The disco killed me in this film, not the kills.
It is, you're watching it, and, like, especially the dance number, like, later on, and it's just like, oh, my God. And they're playing, like, the Prom Night theme during the disco, like, music, and, oh, my God. We'll get into it. Jamie Lee Curtis is your final girl in this movie, playing Kimberly Hammond. Of course, they had to get her after the Halloween success, so that's why she's in this.
I think it's why it did so well, too, is because you had that recognizable Scream Queen name, and good for her, you know?
Yeah. We'll get into it, but looking way too old to be a high schooler. But yes, like
yeah. Can I just talk about the first scene real quick? Like literally one of the first scenes where they're standing over a grave, and I'm like, oh, she looks sophisticated as fuck, and then I find out she's a fucking high school student, and I'm like, holy shit, she looks too old to be a college student.
Yeah, she looks older than a college student. I will 100% agree with you. And it's funny because this wasn't made that much farther out from Halloween, but she looks younger in Halloween. So it fits that she's a high schooler in that one.
God.
Michael Tuff plays Alex Hammond, who is the slasher, the fraternal twin to the final girl, and a cross-dresser apparently.
Oh yes.
Go ahead.
Oh no! I'm just agreeing with you. I was like, yes, I forgot. You're like cross-dressed, and I had to think for a minute. I was like, oh wait a second, yeah, I get it now.
When she pulls the mask off, he's got lipstick on, and the only thing I can think is that he was trying. Well, actually, he's a fraternal twin to the dead girl. He's not the fraternal twin to Jamie Lee Curtis, but like he's trying to make everybody think that his dead sister has came back and doing the kills. So he dresses up as her apparently or something. Michael Tuff did come back and star in another movie, actually one of the first by James Wan, which is Dead Silence, which is a killer puppet ventriloquist.
Yes, I remember that.
We have Casey Stevens playing Nick McBride, who is the good guy boyfriend to Kim, and then the ex to Wendy. Leslie Nielsen, people, playing Mr. Hammond, the school principal and the father to the final girl and the slasher. Weird turn for Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
I know he was a dramatic actor way before he ever got into any of the Zucker Brother movies and all that, but like it's just so weird seeing him in a non-comedy role.
Yeah, it's funny because it's Leslie Nielsen, but you have to still Google, is this Leslie Nielsen? Spoiler alert, it was. But I was just so fucking surprised.
He's also one of those guys like Steve Martin that I don't think ever had any hair color besides white, which I know I've seen pictures of him with dark black hair, but like his hair turned white like super early in his life or something.
Oh, yeah. So. Even Noah's like, he's always looked old. And I was like, yeah, poor guy.
We have Robert A. Silverman playing Mr. Sykes, the perverted school janitor, and he's very perverted.
Yeah, and like they just overdo it,
I mean, he's so perverted that he would be on a list and like not be able to be within 50 feet of a school.
Yeah.
At all. Like, I mean, that's how perverted this guy is.
They just did the quintessential like, this is what a pervert looks like. They really went out with making him look the role, act the role, and like something was definitely off with him. So they went for it.
they were setting him up as a red herring.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I
for
said,
sure.
I don't feel like none of the red herrings in any of these movies ever worked, but they were setting him up as being one of them.
Yeah, they did, but I didn't think it was him. I don't know why. And maybe because it was just too out there.
I don't know why it never took for me either, but I think it's just because like it was a little too obvious,
Yeah,
that
no.
he would be one.
100%.
George Tuliatos plays, I guess that's how you say that, plays Lieutenant McBride, who is Nick's dad, cop, and the doom prophet of the movie. Tammy Bourne plays young Robin Hammond, who's the tragic victim of a prank. Mary Beth Rubens plays Kelly Lynch, who's the prude of her social group, cock blocker, as it were. Joy Thompson plays Jude Cunningham, who's the pot smoking hoe. She was in another movie that's I think it was like a teen comedy type movie called Baker County, USA. Sheldon Rabowski plays Seymour Slick Crane, and he is a sick vanyo.
Oh my God. Mr. Chubb's getting it.
Yeah. I guess it was different times. I don't know. I mean, like normally back in the 80s, like like if you were a fat kid, you got made fun of pretty bad. But I guess if you were just depending upon like what kind of personality you had, because Seymour was working it and nobody seemed to call him out on it.
Well, he also had a cool van too. So
that's true. I don't know how he afforded that van. I was.
How did that
really
fucking
worried.
bitch afford a Corvette? She had a T-top Corvette.
Oh, you talking about Wendy?
Yeah.
Well, Wendy's a rich bitch. That's how she. Anne Marie Martin, who starred in this movie under the pseudonym Eddie Benton for some reason.
Okay.
I guess so that people wouldn't associate her with this movie. They used to do that sort of thing so they could get more, they wouldn't be pigeonholed in, but also so that they could be more legitimate whenever they did their daytime dramas, and soap operas and all that. But she plays Wendy Richards, who is the hot, manipulative bitch in this movie, and apparently comes from a wealthy family. She was in Savage Harvest, The Boogans, and Halloween 2, opposite Jamie Lee Curtis. So they were in a couple movies together. And then David Mucci plays Lou Farmer, the school bully, a pervert / stalker. He was also in Unforgiven, which is a kick-ass Western, and Half-Baked of all things. So I think he played like a cop in that movie, which is the complete opposite of what he played in this. Synopsis: some kids are playing hide and seek in a creepy old abandoned convent. When the kid sister of one of their classmates tries to join, the older children decide to play a prank that turns deadly. All of the older children all of the children vow to never speak about what happened, and the little girl's death is blamed on another man. Skip ahead 6 years, and those same children are about to attend their senior prom. The supposed killer of little Robin Hammond gets loose from the mental hospital, and the prom night killings begin. Throats are cut with mirror glass, shaggin' wagons explode like Ford Pintos, and heads go rolling at the disco-themed prom. If you're not back by midnight, you won't be coming home.
Jesus.
That's pretty bad, I think, but whatever. Body count is respectable 8.
Okay, yeah.
We have Robin, who's, it was an accidental death, but falls out of the pane of glass. Those kids were a bunch of assholes, by the way. I mean, I know Nick kind of like tried to be, nice about it. And then like, Wendy, of course, being the, bitch that she is, told everybody to shut up. But like, still, he contributed.
Yeah.
We have an unnamed female victim who's found dead, possibly stabbed with a broken piece of glass by Leonard Murch after he breaks out from the mental hospital, even though he has nothing to do with anything else in this movie.
Yeah.
He's the first red herring. He's the one that the Doom Prophet keeps bringing up. It's like, it's Leonard Murch. It has to be. He's back.
Which
Kelly
they never
Lynch
even show him, really. Well, I guess they do a little bit in the hospital. But
it's like for one scene, like
yeah,
miss it.
They don't build enough on him that you're like, oh, that's definitely him. You're just like, yeah. So someone's killing some kids.
And why would he go after those kids anyways? Like, how would they? I mean, like, because I think it wasn't even the kids that said that he that to my knowledge that said that he did it. I think that it was like it was Leslie Nielsen's character who came by later and just assumed that it was Leonard Murch that had done
Well,
it,
they found him standing.
So
somehow they found him standing over the girl's body after she had died, and they said, "Oh, he's a known child rapist in the film." And so they assumed that he had raped and killed her, and obviously nothing was said about that specifically, but like you kind of build up, oh, okay, well, this guy's standing over her dead body, nobody else was seen, and he's a known child rapist, so he's the one who did this. However, okay, great, he gets put away. So then you're supposed to think that when he escapes that he came back to kill the kids because those kids were the ones who did it, and clearly they're the reason he's in jail for nothing. And it's like, well, bruh, you're a known child rapist, so...
Yeah, like, there was nothing that they set up that made me at any point in time think that it was him as the killer. Like, just not.
Yeah, I mean, I thought for a second, I was like, oh, okay, well, it makes sense. Like, they're the reason his life is ruined. And I was like, wait a second. No, they're not.
No, I mean, he was already on that path anyways.
Yeah.
We have Kelly Lynch, who has her throat slit by Alex Hammond. Jude Cunningham, who is stabbed in the throat by Alex Hammond. Seymour Crane is incinerated in a car crash caused by Alex Hammond. God, I love that death so much. It's so bad, but so good. It's the only part of the movie that I was like, yes.
Wait, which one?
Seymour's.
Oh, yeah.
You spend 10 minutes with fucking Seymour, because he mentioned he doesn't have his glasses or something.
Yeah.
I think there's like he mentions that he can't see without them. And he's sitting there trying to drive while the killer's like trying to get inside the car or in the van. And like he keeps in the same field just doing donuts.
Yeah.
Or trying to throw this guy out. Does that for 10 whole fucking minutes. And then all of a sudden, like the killer like gets him close enough to the cliff, jumps off, and then you see Seymour. And even before
yes,
the fucking van hits anything, it blows up.
It blows up midair, which, by the way, the tiniest cliff in the history of ever.
Oh yeah. It's like it's like 20 feet down or something.
Yeah.
But like, and I was like, I love this because this reminds me of all the 80s like bullshit explosions that I remember seeing as a kid. Like as soon as the car went off the cliff, like fire everywhere.
It was a good explosion, but it was just a little too soon. But you can't duplicate it, so I get it. It was like, fuck it.
And his face in that scene, it was probably a dummy or something. It is so hilariously bad. Like you see it for long enough, and it's just like eyes are bugging out. It's so good. It's for the wrong reasons, but it's good.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. The only thing they were missing from this scene is the killer walking away from the explosion slowly, without a care in the world.
That or having the killer kind of like stare off at the like flaming wreckage down at the bottom of the cliff or whatever, because that used to be a thing in the scenes too, where somebody would die and then somebody would be standing and you just see the silhouette, panned off to either the right or left side over their shoulder as they're like staring down, when they walk away. That's the only thing that was missing from it.
Fucking gimp.
We have Wendy Richards, the rich bitch, hacked to death with an axe by Alex Hammond.
That was the longest fucking kill ever as well. Like, that just took so long.
Yeah, she's like running repeatedly. She's like locking stuff behind her. It's, it's like, there's a lot of back and forth. It's like she takes forever to die.
Yeah, the hiding in the car was hilarious. It was cute.
We have Lou Farmer, who's just straight up decapitated with an axe. That
was the better looking kills, because we got some bullshit in this film.
Yeah. I appreciate a good decapitation,
yes.
And they did a good job on the prop head afterward too. Like
100%.
And then, of course, Alex Hammond himself, which is hit over the head with an axe, and then bleeds out. Like that's it. Like he. And they did it just long enough so that he could basically, tell his sister, why he did it.
Yeah. He fucking spills the fucking tea. And like,
I was there when she died. I saw the body.
Did you see him there? Because I don't remember seeing him there. To where he would have seen it.
Somebody says if you look, you can see a shadow over top of her body right before it cuts away to Leslie Nielsen later. But like you do see like a shadow, like, but that's all they show just so they can keep it like, who's the shadow.
Okay, and that makes sense because I thought the shadow was the serial killer, or not the serial rapist that they arrested, because they said that they found him at the scene looking at the child, and I was like, yeah, that's the person that walked over and looked at her. I saw the shadow.
Yeah, her brother apparently walked up after he told her that he's like, fuckity bye or whatever. Like whenever he said that he was just going to leave, and she could go play, or because he knew that she wouldn't get to play with the older kids anyways.
Yeah,
like he leaves her, but apparently came back just check on her, and that's when he found her that way.
And he was okay. So she was like 6 years old, and so that would have made him like 5 or 4. And
no, she was. They're fraternal twins, so she would have been 6. He would have been 6, and she would have been 6.
He was fraternal twins with the. I thought he was. Oh, he's fraternal twins with the girl that died. I thought he was twins with Jamie Lee Curtis.
No. So he wasn't actually a senior in this movie. He would have been like a junior or whatever, or actually probably maybe even a sophomore or something.
Okay, so they were both like 6-ish years old or something. No, probably older, maybe even older, because obviously she was older than the kids when she died. What point I'm getting at is that a 6 or 7-year-old held that in, didn't tell the police, and kept all that rage just to come out at prom to murder these kids specifically on that date. Like the math isn't mathing.
Yeah, I don't know why they chose the prom, why he chose the prom as the exact day to do it. I mean, I know why the movie people chose prom, but I mean, I don't know why he waited until that, because I mean, it had nothing to do with how she died. I mean, at least in Girls Night Out, it happened on the same night as the scavenger hunt. That makes sense. Like that's what Barney was going after. But like, I don't understand in this one, like why he chose the prom is like the reason that finally I'm going to get my revenge. Quotes in this movie. Kim, you seem a little anxious, Wendy. By the way, who are you going with tonight? And Wendy says, it's not who you go with, honey. It's who takes you home.
What a hoe.
And that line is the only line that links all of the Prom Night movies together. And Mary Lou says that to her jilted boyfriend right before she gets burned up. He looks at her and he's like, you came here with me. And she says the same exact thing. She's like, it's not who you go with, honey. It's who takes you home.
Slut.
Alex, Kim sprays him with perfume. Don't do that. I smell like the inside of a ladies' room. And Kim's like, how would you know what the ladies' room smells like?
It doesn't smell good, guys. I'm here to tell you, women are fucking disgusting.
But also, this is the movie basically looking at the audience and saying, you know who the killer is now, right?
Oh,
they just
God.
told you that he was in the ladies' room. That's our killer. Thank
you.
Jude, who are you? Slick. Seymour Crane, but they call me Slick.
Like okay, here's the thing, is back in the day, usually the fat guy was made to be the creeper a little bit, and they did not do that. They made him
was in the creeper van, though.
He was in the creeper van, but like, what's her name was all about it. Like, she was like, oh, okay. She was all over that dick. And not only
that's the thing that I couldn't figure out. That's why I called her a pot smoking hoe. Like, she totally was just like, all right, I'll take your free ride and I'll give you a free ride. That's literally how she was.
Like,
I mean,
honey, you are a piece. It's the fat guys that are easy. Not you. Holy shit.
She gave me very much the vibes of like some of the characters from like specifically Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the free-loving hippie, that would fuck anybody that showed up in their van. She gave me that sort of vibe is what she was putting out there.
He probably had weed. She knew he had weed because he had that van. Okay, that's fine. I can respect that. I mean, I am in particular a chubby chaser, so I had no problem with this. But I'm like, okay, but that was me. And in high school, I wasn't allowed to feel that way because you weren't supposed to like the fatties. That meant you were gross. And I was like, she didn't give a fuck. No self-respect. I'm just kidding.
right from the get-go, she was just like, hey, I'll hop in your van. And he's just like, all right, baby,
hopped in that van and hopped on that dick.
Yeah, she sure did. Vicky, Mr. Sykes, this is just for you. And then Vicky proceeds to pull down in her pants and moon Mr. Sykes, which... I don't know if you want to bait the school rapist, but I mean, She did.
Yeah,
so
she absolutely did. That was disgusting. A cute little butt, by the way, because I was expecting like a bony little butt because she was so skinny. She had some cheeks going on. It was cute. It wasn't massive or anything.
Yeah, she had a decent white girl ass. We'll give her credit for that.
And then the teacher just barely reprimanded her, which is hilarious.
Different times, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, like probably better times in some ways. Other taglines. And that's the reason I say these taglines. They're not taglines, they're novels.
Okay.
This is the first one.
Oh, God, it's huge.
These are the girls of Hamilton High. Tonight, they will be more beautiful than ever before in their lives because tonight is prom night, and someone has to come to the prom alone just to watch them dance, to see them fall in love, to see them die. That's all one. That's all one tagline.
On a VH cassette, this would have taken the whole goddamn thing.
It would have. There have been no picture of Jamie Lee Curtis. Everyone in the senior class has a date for prom night, but someone has come to the prom alone. Someone who watches in the empty corridors. Someone who follows silent and unseen. Someone who waits until no one can help. There's a special night in the lives of us all, a night we can break all the rules and make our own. Prom night. For some, it's the end of innocence. For others, it's the end.
Okay, that one's shorter.
Yeah, it's getting better.
It'll only take in half the cassette.
Jude is going to the prom. Wendy is going to the prom. Kelly is going to the prom. But for each of them, it's going to be a night they will never live to forget.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's bad. These are short, though. A killer waits at the high school dance. That's just it. A killer waits at the high school dance.
Okay. ...
Someone will be crowned. Others will lose their heads. Okay.
I mean,
and then
yeah.
Finally, the night someone came to the prom alone. And that is a direct ripoff of Halloween.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the night he came home is Halloween's tagline. So this one's the night someone came to prom alone.
Oh, my God.
They knew what they were doing with Jamie Lee Curtis and their general area. So the one that I chose for the tagline for this is way better in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Visually, what do we think about this movie?
Visually, the kills were meek, but everything else in this film was pretty legit for the times. Like the colors of the dance, the lighting of the film, especially when you're having a sex scene in the middle of fucking nowhere, if you will. Pretty fucking good.
The only thing I have a problem with, and maybe it's the because I was watching the Synapse Blu-ray of this, and I'm sure at some point in the future they're going to come out with an HD version of this because they always do. And I hope they go back and they clean up whatever sources they have. The particular version that I watched seemed like it had a lot of like fuzz going on, like in the exteriors, like the scenes were like, they had that effect you always have when you want something to look like it's a dream, that fuzzy like look or whatever, like the perimeters where it's like, oh, this is a beautiful dream. And it kind of fits the movie in a sense because it's the prom and everybody thinks, oh, this is going to be a wonderful time. But it's just like, it was a little weird, like seeing it. Like,
the beginning was like that. Like back in the day, it had that effect on it. By the way, you want to know where I watched this?
Where did you watch it?
Death Holler's very own Shudder account. It's on Shudder.
I figured it was.
Yeah.
And I would be surprised if, well, I don't know if Graduation Day would be on there because that's different. But anyways, Prom Night's pretty prominent. Tubi has it on there as well.
I wanted it Sans commercial, though.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
That's better when you can get that.
So I definitely enjoyed it watching on Shudder. But these kills were very bleak. Like, there was nothing to them. But I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, we're talking about just a high schooler. Like, how creative are they going to get?
Well, it's the creativity, but also it's like 1980. I don't think Friday the 13th has came out. Savini's not like, revolutionized. I mean, I think this is solely based on Halloween, and Halloween has some pretty bloodless kills. I mean, when you go back and watch the original movie, so
Yeah.
it's aping that. So I guess it moved it up a notch slightly.
Yeah.
And it's tough going back to like seeing kills like this after you've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, because I mean, you have friggin' people turning into roaches and getting crushed. I mean, it's like, it's it's a little bit of a step back, but I think, we always talk about lighting and all that. There was times where it was like natural lighting. So, I mean, but it wasn't too badly done. It didn't look, like any kind of independent film, like whenever they're cheaply done. And the nighttime scenes were surprisingly well done, I thought. I mean, they were lit well enough, but they looked like nighttime scenes.
Yeah.
Which is where they really fuck up, and Graduation Day has that when we get into it. You can clearly tell it's daytime out in that movie at one point, and like they just darken like the scenes around the actress that's in the the forefront of the screen just to make it look like it's nighttime.
Yeah.
Story, this almost plays like a giallo to me. Like it's more of that than it is like a straight up slasher. I mean, it is a slasher.
Yeah.
But like, you've got the mask killer who's literally just wearing a hockey mask, or not hockey mask, but like a ski mask, and like leather gloves, and that's like the hallmark of giallos. Like almost every single one of them had like some black mask on and like leather gloves. I mean, that's like it, So, and which Graduation Day is pretty much the same in that sense.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we've already discussed it, but I don't understand. I mean, outside of clearly they wanted a movie based around some, holiday or some kind of event to kind of give it its own name, because Halloween, obviously is Halloween. So they wanted, some other, but I don't understand the motivation for why Prom Night.
Hold on. I'm looking something up. I have an idea, but I think I'm wrong. Okay, I'm not too far off. I wonder when they started filming this. I don't know if you have that in trivia or not, but Saturday Night Fever was a hit and came out in 1977, and this came out 3 years later.
It came out 3 years later, but I think it was filmed in 79,
so
if I remember
2
right.
years max, from when Saturday Night Fever, I think they were trying to, and Disco was obviously dying or dead by this point, which is weird.
Yeah,
but
Disco had like the shortest half-life or like shelf life of any, basically any fad, because it like hit like mid 70s and was gone and dead and hated by the, early 80s.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like they were trying to have like a cool dance hit, which is we've seen so many movies in our heyday in the 90s, early 2000s, where there's a high school dance and there's like this huge dance breakout. Nobody ever fucking did that at any of our proms. I don't know if that happened at yours. I was about to say, I'm gonna go on a whim and say it did not. If it's not happening in California, where fucking we have filming in Hollywood and shit like that, it's definitely not happening out there. Sorry. Just gonna throw it out there. But so I think they were trying to have that kind of a hit, and it's like, oh, this is a really good movie, and then kills on top of it. And the two, in my opinion, didn't go together very well.
I'll agree with you on that. I'm just saying, like we've talked about contextually within the story itself, I don't understand the killer's motivation for the prom being like the time that he suddenly decides to do what he's doing. Like,
no,
I mean,
there wasn't. There was no good explanation. It was just like, we know that it's good to have a holiday in a horror film or some kind of event. Yeah,
because you can label it that, and like, it's like, okay, I've got this staked off, like, this is, the holiday that I've claimed, like Valentine's Day or whatever. So The only thing that kind of makes sense within the context of the story is that happens to coincide right when Murch like breaks out. So maybe that's what spurred Alex on to do what he's doing, but they don't really establish that, that he was waiting for something like a sign, as it were. And when Murch breaks out, he's like, all right, he's broke out. He'll be blamed for the kills. I'll get revenge,
Maybe.
That's the only thing that makes any sense.
They just didn't. They had a lot of opportunity to explain some things they didn't. I think they're just like, they just slapped a film together. Unfortunately. And a lot of it was filmed very well. I think they could have. Giallo is the best way to describe this film because, oh my God, I was thinking that, especially with when what's her name, Wendy was running and she got slashed. I want to say in the arm. It was her scene was a little hard. It was pretty dark. Still filmed really well. Yeah. I would say they still did an amazing job with filming. You could see what was going on, but I think she got slashed in the arm, and at some point she's bleeding and it's just dripping and it's super super thick, which just like some of the Giallos we watched.
Yeah, and it fits more of that to me than a slasher. But like I said, this is early in the slasher, so I mean it's hard to judge it based upon that. And like I said, if you go to Prom Night 2, it's like full on like revengeful ghost slasher, and like it fits all of the hallmarks of those movies at that point. So.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a pass. It's just like but it's because it's early on. It's just like story wise, it's more Giallo than it is anything else.
Yeah. I have a question. Do we have more wedding slashers? And the reason I say more is because the only thing I can think of, there's actually a film called Wedding Slashers. Oh my God. Anyways, because we have that one film, what is it called? We both liked it a lot, where it was the wedding night and they're playing that game, hide and seek, basically, or they all have to like kill her, and if she survives, she's a part of the family.
Oh, that's Ready or Not.
Ready or Not. Okay, so is there other wedding slasher films?
Well, I don't know. That one's a weird one. I don't know if I guess that one crosses because it's a slasher, but like, kind of spoilery saying this, it's got supernatural elements to it, like Ready or Not does. I've not looked to see if there's any that are technically based around weddings. I'm sure there probably were. I mean, like, Jilted Lovers would make like a perfect, setup. I mean, obviously with all the ones we've seen for like, a slasher to the MO for the slasher, but I don't recall any off the top of my head, just like thinking about it.
Because that's a good thing to catch on. So the only thing that comes up is a film called Wedding Slashers, where the tagline is "Here comes the blood" instead of the bride.
Oh my God.
And then there is and then of course there's Ready or Not. Those are the only films that come up. So no one has really capitalized on that. Because I've never heard of Wedding Slashers, and they got an IMDb rating of 3 out of 10. So,
yeah, it's pretty low. I think that one's one that can definitely be tapped by anybody who's got a good idea for one.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, that was a rant. Sorry.
The acting in this movie, I'll give them credit. The acting's not terrible in this. I mean, for a low budget movie, I mean, you obviously got Jamie Lee Curtis bringing things up, Leslie Nielsen bringing things up. I mean, he's classically trained actor, so I mean, he's good for what he is in it. The actor's playing Seymour's a little hammy, but I think the character's supposed to be. So
yeah.
I can't really. I mean, like I know, like Lou is like more of a stereotype type character, but he plays the part well. And then Wendy, I mean, like that actress does a pretty good job with that character. So I can't really complain about the acting in this, really.
Yeah, I don't think I have any complaining about the acting. My biggest complaint was probably lack of a storyline, which is our next thing, but I think we've covered that pretty well. And the lack of storyline, lack of direction, and, the meager kills.
Yeah, the story kind of being threadbare, just to like piece together the kills, and not really like having a good motivation for why prom is the setting. the kills are pretty anemic, just typical slashing the throat and all that, which
Yeah.
is more giallo than it is, a lot of good slashers at least. The music, oh my God, the disco music.
Did you have a hard time with it? Because I actually did not mind it. I mean, it's disco. I'm not a fan of disco, but
I laughed my ass off.
Oh
I
my
was just
God.
like,
I thought the
but-
dancing was more cringe than the music. I thought the music was pretty exciting, and it made me wonder if back in the day, dances were really this lit. I think they were, because my high school dances were pretty good. They were pretty elaborate. We paid a lot of money to have decent dances that I went to. No random dances or group dances got broken out, but okay, that's besides the point. But now it's getting worse and worse every year. Like, kids don't want to get dressed up to go to dances anymore. No one dances at dances anymore. They go to, which is fine. They go just to have fun and hang out, though. It's insane.
I could see that, although there has been I've seen Facebook posts from people posting their kids' prom or whatever, and these kids are decked out to the nines. So I don't know. Maybe it depends on the area too.
Yeah.
Because it's still a thing around here. And it's crazy too, because you're seeing some of these pictures and it's these younger women look like fashion models, and that goes back to what we were, something I was going to bring up anyways. It's hard judging these 30 to 40-year-old looking people playing teenage, which I know they weren't that old. They were in their 20s, I think.
Yeah.
But somebody brought this up. It's why do people of previous generations and, look older than, we do now? And it's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Because I think it had a lot to do with smoking too, prematurely aging the skin, that had a lot to do with it. But it did, you go back and look, and it's high schoolers back in the, 70s, 80s looked older than high schoolers do now. And I don't know if skincare is better, whatever you want to say, but it's night and day. And it's hard to judge. You see these, and it's they're older than dirt, but that might be, closer to what they looked like back in the day,
Yeah. Well, and then, the funniest meme I've seen lately that kind of backs you up is the Steve Martin and Diane Keaton playing 40-year-olds in what's that movie?
It's the one where they have all the kids, right?
They don't have, not where they have all the kids. It was the one where his daughter's getting married. Father of the Bride.
Father of the Bride, yeah.
They were playing 40 to 45-year-olds in the films along the span of the films, because there was 2 or 3 films.
There's a meme too that somebody had, and it was it was similar to that. It wasn't Steve Martin, it was somebody else, but it was this actor looked how Wilford Brimley always looked to us back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was him. They mentioned he's Wilford Brimley was only 30 some years old whenever he played in Cocoon.
Oh,
and it's
shit.
God damn it! It's he looked older than dirt,
Yeah. You know what? I have to say out here. So proms are probably the exception. And I think it's required, hopefully, by schools that they get dressed up. However, out in California, specifically out here, the thing is the girls, I'm going to slut shame. I'm going to fucking do it. I'm a woman. I own a vagina. But I have a general rule that I think, and I could be wrong, you can come at me if you want to, I don't give a fuck, that I think that your dress should be longer than your vagina. If you can't sit down without your dick flopping out, because that's probably a thing that can happen.
That can happen now in the time we live in. Yes.
You can't sit down without the crack of your vagina showing, comfortably. It's not appropriate. And I was like, oh, well, you can't slut shame. I'm fucking going to. You should be able to comfortably sit down, and you have a dress coming down to your nipples and also coming up to your vagina. You're only covering what's in between. why don't you cover that shit and show us your belly button? Like, because that's all you're covering is your belly button.
Yeah, it looks like the kind of shit that they would wear to the Met Gala, which is not saying anything because, I mean, you know, you have famous actors and actresses literally dressing like sluts. And
Oh, yeah. Naked dresses are going to be a thing soon at prom. I know one day it's going to happen where someone's got this sheer material over and they're wearing their underwear underneath and a bra.
Oh, yeah, just like they've done on the red carpet several times.
As an adult, fine, do whatever you want. But as a high schooler, like, it's a bit much.
Well, and to me, I mean, like I said, you know, like you said, you can call this out way more than I can but I mean, just saying my opinion on the matter, it's like I feel like prom is more of a chance to like dress classy.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can still dress sexy, but classy. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the dresses that some of the women wore back in the 20s, like, you know, 1920s, not 2020s, but like, you know, and it's like, I mean, they were skimpy enough that they showed the goods, but they were long and classy. So
Yeah.
they, you know, left something to the imagination.
There was a body silhouette you could see. You could see ankles and knees. Oh, my. You know, shoulders, too.
And you can have the plunging necklines or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, but like, you know, you don't have to like basically have pasties. That
Yes.
are bare, you know, because I feel like that's how close, just like you agreeing with you, it's how close we are in some of these dresses that they're wearing.
Yes.
In some situations, it's like, I hope you have pasties or something on because you're showing everything.
If the DJ tells you to throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care and your titties start waving too, popping out of the dress, there's a problem. And it's like, I don't see how people don't see it. I look at you can I've seen girls dress super sexy, thigh high slits for prom. That's fine, but everything else is covered, you know.
Yeah.
Low necklines, but their titties didn't pop out. Like, that's fine. I don't get it. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, but it just goes back to the original statement that I feel like if you look at like people back, you know, in previous generations, I mean, the meme isn't wrong. It's like, I mean, it's something about how people of our generation and younger have like taken care of themselves.
Yeah.
That like 30 and 40 doesn't look, I mean, it looks better than some of the, I mean, I'll just put it this way, like somebody in their 30s now could actually maybe star in a movie that had teenagers and they'd look legit. You wouldn't question it. But like these people, they look too old. Like they seriously do. It's like you're like, even the actress who plays Wendy, she's hot, but like she's like a hot late 20s or something at best. I mean, and it's like, you look too old for this role, honey. I hate to tell you that, but I mean, you're not, you don't have that baby fat look to you.
Let's give an example of one of our favorite actresses that we love to talk about, living her best Hollywood years, Jenna Ortega, who is playing, what, a 16-year-old? She's 20 years old, so she's not even legal drinking age yet. And to watch her play a porn actress was very hard because she looks so fucking young. Now, this poor girl, and good for her, because when she's in her 40s, she's going to look like she's in her 20s probably. And I respect the fuck out of that. But this poor girl is at the age where she is a woman. She is coming into womanhood, and she is fighting to look like a woman and not a sexy kid on the red carpet. And I feel so bad.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely in that realm. It's like when you see her sometimes as a guy, at least that perspective, it's like, I don't think that I should be seeing her. She looks like jailbait. Like,
yeah.
I mean, she's got that young of a face to her.
Yeah.
But anyways, is there anything that you want to say about the movie? I think it's okay. I mean, it's definitely not on my list of favorites to go back and rewatch.
I would like to say something about this film. I am very upset you made me watch this. How dare you? My time is very valuable. And this is, I don't know, an hour and 40 minutes of my life I will never get back. It wasn't a snooze fest. We'll save that for another film.
Yeah, I get you on that. Like I told you beforehand, I think you would have had more fun watching Hell High.
Probably, and you did warn me, so.
Yeah, they made a 2000 something remake of this movie. I've never watched it. I need to change that some point in the near future and watch it, but I don't know if it'd be any better, to be honest. So the actresses would probably look more age appropriate for the movie they were in, but that'd be about it. So
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not high on my list of, but I mean, it covers the whole school event thing. So there you are. Trivia. The line, "It's not who you come from, it's who takes you home," appears in all 4 of the movies. As I've said, they did make 4 of these, by the way. Casey Stevens had trouble keeping up with Jamie Lee Curtis during the filming of the dance scenes, as she was a well-trained dancer who did all of her own dance moves while he was inexperienced, and they required a dance double to be used for him whenever the dancing got too difficult.
Oh my God. It's funny because Noah was asking about that and I was like, no, I think that's her, because it kind of showed her practicing. And, well, not practicing, but like, she was, she's in the gym doing like a quick practice.
Yeah, she was doing a quick
And I was
dance,
like, no, that's her. And he's like, well, aren't her knockers big? And I was like, first off, her knockers got bigger when she got older. That's pretty common. So I was like, leave her alone. They are technically big for her size if you think about it,
Yes.
She was,
what is that movie? It's the Dan Aykroyd movie later on. I can't, it's not coming to me. I'll have to look it up. But anyways, and Eddie Murphy. But anyways, she plays a prostitute in that movie, and she's got those mommy milkers out in that one, and they're way more prominent.
Yeah, I mean, it happens when you get older. It happened to me, and I'm very grateful. But yeah, and we also put on weight when we get older, so that's bound to happen.
Trading Places. I had to look it up.
Yes, and then of course we see her in her brassiere in when she was playing the what was the spy movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
True Lies.
True Lies.
Yeah, she's really got them out in that one.
Her mommy milkers are
older,
really
though, so
yeah.
I don't. It kind of depends on what version of Jamie Lee you want to see, but yeah,
older, but those milkers were in place.
They were.
They looked good. They were. That was a good bra.
According to Paul Zaza, the prom scene was shot with actual disco hits that the production company later realized they could not afford. This gave Zaza a week and a half to create similar original disco songs for this movie that were close, but not so close that they could be sued.
I think he did an amazing job.
It sounded like disco music, so
it wasn't a boring version of Moving in Stereo. And with such short amount of time to compose something like that. And it was exciting. It went really well. Like when you saw the dance scene and you're like, what the fuck is this doing in the film? But you're like, damn, this is catchy. Like, look at, she's fucking getting it, It went with the time, so.
I think because he was able to compose it, it actually had music that it kind of fit like the movie itself. Because if you listen to the lyrics, I think it's got something about this is a prom you'll never forget.
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah. It's got all that stuff in there. So.
Oh, yeah. It was like prom night. I was like, oh, my God. Holy shit. But it was, you know what? The thing about it is that you had distractions. You had good dancing. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis looked amazing. You had the lights. Those school lights, for lack of a better term, were fucking lit. Like, and it went really well with the music and everything. Like, it was an absolute disco dance.
Yeah, it looked like some kind of like, it looked like Saturday Night Fever or something.
It did.
Like, have you ever seen that? It was done up the same way.
Or like, almost like those kids could have fucking started a Soul Train. They could have started a Soul Train.
Soul Train, yeah. I was trying to remember what TV show it was, but yeah. Or Solid Gold, I think is another one.
Yeah, Solid Gold was. Look we were too young to watch this, guys, okay? These shows were before our time, but we got to see. They
were the kind of shows that played on TV in the middle of the day whenever you were sick in the 80s. Like,
yes.
That's the kind of shit that you saw.
They were in syndication?
Syndication.
Yeah, at that point. So, yeah, we got to see shit that our parents were probably gigging to.
That and Bob Barker, The Price is Right. That was the two things I remember. So
we're really young, everyone. Remember that, okay? We're still real young.
Hamilton High School is the one setting that all of the prom night movies have in common. Don't know why, but that's how they link them. And they have nothing to do with one another. Well, I take that back. I think after they introduced Mary Lou, like they bring her back for at least part 3. So there are links between 2 and 3 to that extent.
Mary Lou is a vengeful hoe.
Vengeful hoe for sure.
For show.
Casey Stevens would only do one more film after this one, Threshold, in 81. He tragically died of AIDS-related illness in 86 as his acting career was beginning to take off.
Was he gay?
That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
But I mean, if not, at least bisexual, because you know a lot of that was going on. It was the free love time, and that's why that took off so much.
That or someone was bisexual, and the woman he hooked up with happened to be a recipient and giver of such. That sucks.
True. I mean, there were people back in the 80s that got it through blood transfusions, but I mean, I don't know. The numbers were not as high as they were for the sexual part.
Yeah.
So. Prom Night was filmed over 24 days in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and or both of them, I guess. And from August 7th to September 13th, 1979, the Don Mills Collegiate Institute served as the main school location, while the Langstaff Jail Farm in Richmond Hill was used for the abandoned building featured prominently in the movie's beginning.
That is a good-looking building. I was wondering, that was the first thing I noticed. Visually, that building was fucking legit. I was like, damn, how did they get this set?
Yeah, you could tell it was like an old abandoned building. It had that look to it. It's one of the few movies to show an actual telephone number, 614-481-6221, instead of the fictional 555 number that you're used to in movies.
Oh, yeah.
As of 2021, that was still a functional number. It was a fax number for Grandview Heights, Ohio's Parks and Recreation Department.
Oh, my God. Bet you they hated that.
Yeah. Gene Siskel, our favorite person, called this a watered down version of Halloween from 78, crossed with Carrie from 76. I can't disagree with him. This is the first time I think I have agreed with Gene Siskel.
Hey, we'll call it like we see it. And I mean.
Another critic called it a combination of Friday the 13th and Saturday Night Fever. That is a good combination.
Better.
Too.
Yeah, better combination because I wouldn't give it a Halloween and Carrie. It's not that good. I'm sorry. Just because it had Jamie Lee Curtis in it doesn't make it a Halloween redo. But Saturday Night Fever and Friday the 13th, it had some elements.
Yeah, I think that's a good call on that.
Mm-hmm.
The subplot about Leonard Murch was added late in the production of the movie.
Oh,
yeah, you can tell.
I hardly noticed.
Barely in it. Director Paul Lynch originally conceived a movie about a psychotic gynecologist.
Yes!
To cash in on Halloween, but upon being told that such a movie would be distasteful, he retooled it to this movie.
Fucking boo! Boo, this man.
I kind of want to see the psychotic gynecologist.
Yes, can you imagine the fucking kills? Oh my God. Make the killer a woman too. You'll never suspect the woman, and the women are fucking mean. That's why I only have men gynecologists now.
Yeah, she's got that speculum out, like coming toward the camera with it in a lot of scenes, you know.
And they don't even have to kill her through the vagina. They can kill her like in her mouth, stick the speculum in her fucking ear.
Yeah, they could do all kinds of crazy stuff that way. Lynch developed Prom Night after a meeting with producer Irwin Yablans. Lynch had wanted to work on a horror movie, and in response to Yablans' suggestion that he utilize a holiday as a basis for the movie, Lynch decided that building the premise around the event of a high school prom was the way he should go with it.
I mean, they could have done so much with Prom. Yeah,
I think that's where the other Prom Night movies do better than this one. Like, they have a better setup, but they also have a vengeful hoe as the, it's their slasher, so that works better. There were deleted scenes of Mr. Hammond talking morosely about his daughter's death to a doctor, and also scenes of him chopping wood, which were meant to point out him as the suspect, meaning Leslie Nielsen would have been your red herring.
Yeah.
There were also deleted scenes with the psychiatrist informing Hammond that his wife had serious problems, not just depression, over her daughter's death, and another scene with her looking at a picture of Robin on the wall surrounded by flowers, which were meant to make Mrs. Hammond look like a suspect. And further, there was a scene where Mr. Hammond speaking to a psychiatrist about Robin's death and its impact on Kim, how she gets depressed from time to time, and how Robin and Alex were twins, but that Alex doesn't remember the death at all. So they were really working that whole family could have been the killer in this situation, including Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because when you go to the scene, you just kind of see fucking Leslie Nielsen standing and staring at the spot where his fucking daughter died. It was weird, but you could tell in the movie, it was definitely inferred that Mrs. Hammond had problems. She was kind of like, you could tell at prom night, she was panicking about kind of how she looked, or she couldn't find something. And it was weird. She was having issues. Every time you saw her, she wasn't all there. Like, she was missing a child, and part of her was missing too. I thought at one point when they showed the killer through the mask, I was like, oh my God, she looks like a woman. She's got pretty eyes, which obviously it was him as a cross-dresser. I thought for a minute it was the mom because of how weird she was acting right before prom. So that could have worked.
I think the mom would have probably been a better one, to be perfectly honest, but
it would have made sense. And then she could have said like, oh, well, he told me, like her son, he saw them and he told me, and she fucking just lost it during prom. You've seen all these kids having a great time and her kid misses out on it,
Yeah, I mean, and that would have made perfect sense. They could have easily went that route with it. And I mean, there wasn't a lot of trivia for both of these movies. So the last one and this one is, it's famous for being one of the only slasher movies with a sympathetic killer. And you can kind of understand why Alex, did what he did, freaking out over the fact that they got away scot-free with his sister's death. I mean, especially Wendy of all people. Like, I mean, it was, the only one he didn't kill in the movie was Kim's boyfriend or whatever, because he, he's kind of, he because he's the good guy, he kind of gets to pass or whatever. He felt bad in the beginning, and that's the reason they kind of skip over him. Death Holler Awards. What do we think about Kimberly Hammonds as a final girl?
Laurie Strode's.
That's basically Laurie Strode 2.0. She doesn't stand up to the well, she does.
Yeah.
I mean, she does brain him with the axe, so I guess there's that. So she does establish that trope. She is a quintessential good girl. She doesn't, unlike in Halloween, she doesn't partake in drugs. So she's fitting that mold better. I can't really say. The only thing is that she really doesn't have a whole lot of interaction with the killer is the thing. Only toward the end, and that's it. Not even in the movie. They don't show the killer very much throughout the film. At least not that I remember that was memorable to me. She was not even, technically she's not really the final girl because she wasn't even involved with the kids at the beginning of the film. She was only involved because she's of age and they're all going to prom together. And she was never intended to be a victim at all. No, she's not. Like, she doesn't fit that mold of like having gone through the trauma of being chased by the killer and all that, and then taking back the, as they've said, psychologically taking the phallus from the killer and like using it against him. She does take the weapon from him in the literal sense, but like she has no trauma to work back against him other than the fact she also lost her sister. Well, yeah, that's it. Also, one of the girls, I forget what her name was. She's the one that shows her tits in the film. She was crying. She was so scared. Like, as soon as she saw the dead body, she just starts crying. And, like, she's not labeled as the nice person. She just doesn't want to go to jail. Can you blame a kid for being scared for not wanting to go to the jail? If anything, Wendy was the one that, Wendy's the one that deserves it because she's the one that convinced them to not say anything about it and just cover it up. Yeah. So... Final girl wise, I mean, she's not amongst the top by any means, just because she didn't experience anything really. It's just the only thing she did was stand up to the killer at the end. Yeah. What do we think about her slasher, Alex? He's kind of there. I mean, like he's a killer. Yeah. I mean, doesn't really stand out in any significant way. He's got good motivation. He's more sympathetic than any of the ones we'll probably ever cover, but that's about all I can say for him in that sense. I think if we really think about it, if I really put my mind to it, he's a realistic killer because he did have pent-up rage. It obviously got to him. It drove him crazy. And his kills look like he actually did them versus some, like, beefed up, killer that, like, this person had a hard time swinging an axe, and this person was getting fucked up at points and was having a hard time. The kills took so long because he's just a person. He's not a superhuman.
So
same thing whenever he's going after Seymour in that van, like he's having so much trouble like staying on that van or whatever, and it's more realistic that way.
It does, yeah. So I mean, a realistic killer is what I'm going to give it.
Yeah. Best kill to me is just the Seymour slick crane going over the cliff and that exaggerated car explosion.
Oh my God.
I love those cheesy car explosions from the 80s.
That was the most entertaining kill thus far, I would say. Well, I mean, it's up there. Freddy had obviously some entertaining kills, but this was pretty fucking entertaining. Like, it was fun watching them go around. It was fun watching the killer almost get thrown off a couple times. I really thought Seymour was going to make it. Like, I was gunning for the scene. I was like, he's going to fucking make it, you know? I really wish I had seen what's-her-name's dead body fall out of the van. You don't get to see that. You just get to see her get slashed. But the doors are shut. And I like how some of the doors shut because of how the car is being driven. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it's like they're shutting and opening because of how it's been driven around. Yeah, that's pretty. It's the
most entertaining, but definitely the very close second, and it's like this close. They're almost touching tips. Is the beheading of the bully?
Yeah, I really like that beheading
because you got to see it. Yeah, see it. It was quick. It sounded real, and it looked good.
And the way that the head rolled down like that.
Yeah.
Disco stage and how the lights going on, so it had that strobing effect.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool scene for the head to roll down through there, and then everybody in the prom to be like, "Oh my fucking God," you know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, I would see that, and I'd wonder if it was real. I swear, like nowadays I would. Back in the day, I would have been freaked out, but nowadays I'd be like, "Wait, is that fucking real?" Then I'd go touch it and feel a warm head, be like, "Oh my God, it's fucking real."
Best scream, probably Wendy. Like she's the only one that I remember the screams from. That's because her scenes are so long in the movie, but they don't stand out as being like the best screams we've had. I mean,
yeah.
Best boobs, it's Kelly because she's the only one that shows her tits in this movie. That's the one you were talking about that was crying or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll give credit though. The better boobs in this movie are technically Laurie Strode's or Kimberly Hammond's because there's a scene where she shows hers cleavage in a bra and they're very nice. But
yeah, they stand up. She's only 20 in this film, but you know, Kelly Lynch looks like she's got the tits of a 40-year-old mom. Yeah,
she does.
And I am a 40-year-old mom. No, I'm just kidding. No. Hers are, it was the saddest, tiniest sack of saggy boobs.
Yeah, they were saggy.
And
that was
she's
the problem
so
with them.
young. And I don't understand it. So this award is for the worst boobs. They're the only boobs, but she doesn't deserve best boobs. Now, I know you'll beg to differ.
No, they're not. I just list them as being the only boobs. I mean, clearly Jamie Lee Curtis would have had the best if she would have actually shown them.
But I don't think that you and Noah would complain. Like, boobs are boobs, and I think you're happy. You're content with them.
I agree to that extent, but I'm going to have a complaint in the next film we discuss it about some boobs in that one. So.
Okay.
But this does have plenty of female asses.
Oh, yes.
The movie.
And they're cute asses.
From scenes.
They're cute too. They're not bad at all. Like, I would be complaining. They did really well. Whoever the director was, he was an ass man.
Yeah, he definitely he way emphasized the ass shots in this movie. So, best side character, Slick, straight up.
Oh yeah,
you know.
yeah. There's no way.
I know you're not going to disagree being a chubby chaser. I mean, Seymour gets it done. Like, he knows what he's all about. So.
Well, even if he wasn't chubby, I mean, he had a little bit of an ick factor, but he also was still suave. And
I love when he's introduced by the one chick in the movie that just, you know, hops on him instantly to Kimberly and like Kimberly and her boyfriend, and they're just like, hey, and then he just like walks up all confident. He's like, hey man, you know, like he didn't even, you know, hesitate one bit. It was just like, you're gonna know who I am because, you know, I'm Seymour, I'm Slick, man. That's how I am.
It was hella funny. Well, and then of course he's standing next to this gorgeous girl. I mean, he fucking begged a gorgeous girl. I think any guy would be feeling fucking on top of the world at that point, and she was hella easy. So not only did he bag a hot chick, I mean, they haven't had sex at this point yet, but clearly she's in the bag. You know,
yeah. She's already introducing him to her friends, so there's no chance that was going to go any other way but that way.
Yeah, and they're having a good ass time. He knows they're gonna fucking smoke later. He knows they're gonna fucking get laid later. So he's having a good night.
And he was rocking those, big ass 80s glasses. I'm gonna give him credit because I mean, damn those things. I had them whenever I was younger, obviously, because I grew up in that time period. I hated how they looked, but I mean, he was rocking them, so good on him. Franklin Award. I'm giving that to Lou. God, I hated that guy. Like you're supposed to. That's good, but I mean, like, it's funny because he knows Wendy's using him, but he doesn't give a shit, and I don't blame him because I mean, if there's she was even being the rich, bitch that she was still probably the hottest in the movie. That I mean, as far as like you could tell that she would at least, unlike Jamie Lee Curtis's character, who you could tell was a little bit prudish, a little bit too nice of a girl to. Wendy, you could probably, at least if not the first date, second date, get somewhere with her. So, it was one of those things.
100%.
It's just that he was so perverted, nasty to the, Kimberly that it's just like, okay, you're getting the Franklin Award on this one. I almost give it to Slick though. At one point, Slick was bordered on becoming a Franklin, but he pulled it out in the end.
He did okay. Like it's weird because right when he's about to, he pulls back. So it's weird. It's like a close call with him.
Yeah. He's right on the border of being one. What do you think? I mean, I didn't officially rate this, but the Steve Buscemi Fellow Kids Award, like how old do these folks look in this movie? You said Jamie Lee Curtis was only 20, but I swear to God, she looked late 20 in this movie. Like it was her makeup or something. She looked a little too old.
I based it on the fact that she was born in 59.
Yeah, she would have been 20 years old.
So
and it's funny because, like I said, she just did Halloween like maybe even a year before this, and she looks way younger in Halloween. It had to have been the makeup they had on her.
I think they had her dressed a little too sophisticated. And maybe that was a thing back in the day?
That could be it. Although she's a little more sophisticated in Halloween too, but like, I don't know. She's got more of a baby face in that movie than she does in this. It's weird.
Yeah. I think that the girl that played Kelly Lynch, besides her fucking titties, she was younger looking in the face.
She was the youngest looking in the face of all the girls in the movie, straight up. I mean, Wendy in the face looked way older.
Yeah. So Wendy, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get her. She was born in 1957, so she was a couple years older than Jamie Lee Curtis.
They still looked like mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
I swear.
No, she looked like she was in her, maybe late 20s, early 30s. It was definitely, because here's the thing is that when we're putting on makeup as, younger, even younger girls look older, but not in an old way. They look older in a more mature way, so which can be scary because you can make a 14-year-old look like a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And that can get scary. But that's the goal, is that when you're younger putting on makeup, you want to look older. I don't know why. And then when we get older, our goal of putting on makeup is to look younger.
Yeah.
It's like
it's to cover up the blemishes later on. Whereas like earlier, it's like to make yourself like, I mean, I don't know, like the cheeks to look a little bit more, get the baby fat out of them to make them look more hollow, and like it's weird. It goes the opposite direction. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like so many wasted years of my gorgeous face when I was younger, putting on horrible makeup. I looked terrible, and I was like, my skin was gorgeous. What was I doing? You learn, you live, you learn. So I think that's the problem, is that they did exactly what every teenage girl would do, is they put on makeup to look older. But I feel like the time period, like we've discussed, and the way they dressed and the makeup itself, they looked, at least according to like how we're used to now, they look too old, in my opinion. Yes. For what they were going for. Think of Wendy's hair too. Wendy had that quintessential middle part with the 70s waves. Yes.
So that style's coming back now. So girls are doing that. Teenage girls are doing that. It is aging them. I'm not joking. So hairstyle also can age
that's
somebody.
A good point.
So they had a lot of negatives going in their favor that was really popular back in the day. So I don't know. But no, I was not buying them. It would have been better if they would have played college students.
Here's a good comparison for you. Do they look as old as Drew Barrymore did in that movie where she goes back to high school to try to be an undercover reporter? Because that's egregiously bad. Like she, in no way, shape, or form, looks like a teenager in that movie.
Josie Grossi. It's funny because Drew Barrymore has a baby face.
She does, but she looks way too old in that movie. Like it's hilarious.
What was that movie called?
Oh God, I don't even remember now. I mentioned it the other day to somebody and I've already forgot because I hate that movie so much. I
don't know that I watched it all the way. Hold on, I'm looking right now. Never Been Kissed?
Yes, Never Been Kissed.
Oh my no shit! Oh my God, there's a horrible photo of her from it. Oh my God. Wait, no, I think that's when she was Josie Grossi though. Oh my God. Anyways.
Do they look as bad? They don't look as bad as Steve Buscemi in that Fellow Kids part of that movie, if you understand. So there's at least that going for their favor.
Oh my!
That's not saying much.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that David Arquette's in that movie with her. Just looking this up, I mean, that's almost like a Scream reunion or something in that movie.
I didn't.
Jessica
Oh my
Alba and
God!
James Franco were in that. Good God. Anyways.
Okay. Oh my God, Jessica Alba was in that film. Holy shit!
And she would have that movie Idle Hands, which we'll cover in Zombie Season with her. She is very baby faced in that. She almost looks like jailbait if she wasn't. Like you talk about, like she's the opposite. Like she's, I mean, well, actually, no, she looks like a high schooler in that movie, and I don't think she was, but she looked like one. So, anyways. We'll cover that when we get to it. How annoying is the Doom Prophet, Lieutenant McBride, who literally only exists as a red herring Doom Prophet who keeps talking, who just keeps telling them it's like it's Leonard, he's back. I mean,
he's the worst. He is literally the fucking worst. We have had some. Go ahead.
Not only is he a Doom Prophet that will not shut the fuck up, I mean, which is one of their hallmarks, but he won't shut the fuck up about the wrong damn person.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's like, bro, shut up. There's a killer at the prom. We want to get back to that. You fucking, we don't care about you.
I mean, Dr. Loomis at least warns people about Michael because it is Michael. Crazy Ralph warns people about, there being a killer on, at Camp Crystal Lake, and he's right. There is a killer there. So, this motherfucker's giving them the wrong information all from the get-go and won't shut up about it.
Yeah, even when they're like, hey, by the way, we found the killer. He was at such and such. The guy's like, oh, you found him? And it's like, shut up. We want to see what's happening at the prom. Can you fucking take this to another movie?
And it feels tacked on. It really does. I think whenever they came up with the Leonard Merch stuff, that they tacked all this Lieutenant McBride shit on at the same time. They're like, well, we got to have somebody worried about it being merch. Let's just have this guy going around. And his scenes have no connection to the movie whatsoever.
It's literally the worst. I just have nothing else to say. It's the worst.
The best red herring in the movie, it's to me Leslie Nielsen. He's the one that if I was going to pick somebody that I thought might have been the killer otherwise because of how they set it up, with a creepy look and everything, it's him.
Yeah, at one point I thought it was him towards the beginning. Then I started edging towards the mom. I even thought that maybe Jamie Lee Curtis could be.
It would have been a great twist if it had been Jamie Lee Curtis.
I mean, they kind of set it up with the movie cover.
I was getting ready to say, if you looked at movie cover, which has nothing to do with the movie, like they totally set her up as a red herring because they got her holding the knife and everything. So
she doesn't even look like that at the prom, by the way. Like she has curly hair at the prom.
You could tell it looks like it comes from another movie altogether.
Yeah.
Worst parent award in this movie, I'm giving to Mr. Hammonds because I mean he is, his son is the killer, and I mean, he, just basically allows his son to get, I mean, you understand why in the context of the movie, but still, it's like, I mean, he basically because of what he's seen, the killer there, like he has the wrong person pegged for his daughter's death, and then like at the end of it, like he seems a little too nonplussed that his son was the killer. Like, I mean, he doesn't freak out as much as I would have, or seem as devastated, So.
Yeah, I mean, they just didn't use Leslie Nielsen to his full capabilities.
Not at the end, they didn't, for sure.
Yeah.
Worst adult award period would be Mr. Sykes, because he's a fucking creep. Like, I mean, he shouldn't have been in that school. He should not have been even allowed within the realm of children of any age.
Yeah.
I don't know who hired him, but they need to go back and look at their credentialing system, because it's really flawed, folks. It's really bad.
They need to rethink some things.
And then the dumbest moment in the movie, even though I love it, is Slick driving around forever in that van before it blows up. It's like, Jesus, man, what's the runtime on this? Like 3/4 of it is Seymour driving around in this goddamn van as he's trying to throw the killer off.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The second one is Wendy running around, although she is trying to get away from the killer. So, but whatever. And you could argue that for Seymour, but it's like, Jesus, like, how long is this going to go on?
Apparently for fucking ever.
Prom night, everything is alright. Prom night, no more feeling uptight. Come with me tonight. Tell me you will love me forever. The feeling's right. It's prom night, and I know things will get better. Come and fly me away to a place where we can be together.